We're good friends. We roomed together in DC actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Yeah. How was it for your
This event? Fine. That's good.
That's not us. Yeah.
No portale rossi, sono i
I'm sorry, we roomed together in DC actually.
Oh, really?
Tamam Nugara uçta benim
This event? Fine.
That's not us.
Nugara uçta Не знаю, мне еще и всем.
Oh yeah, sure. You got.
There's a lot of people, so
Yeah.
Oh, potrafi.
نقولكم هنا شخص طمنت. Wow. Guys, you hot. Yes.
I love that.
How are you doing? Oh, are those Google Hangout?
Yeah.
Who? Those watching abroad, right?
Yeah. Hopefully there'll be people.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I have the.
Yalla.
There's a chair in the middle of the.
Good evening, everyone. Can I have your attention, please? Welcome here tonight to our elections. This is like one whole election. This is so many candidates we have. Let's give them a round of applause. Firstly, I'd like to say that if you have any question during the forum, please email it to me. My email is qhb200. In case you forget it later, you can find it on my student live post. Each of our candidates will have 4 minutes to present their platform. After everybody has presented their platform, I'll ask questions. And there are two types of questions. There's a question that is addressed to the whole group, and each candidate might take turn to answer them. There can also be questions that are directly addressed to a person or to something that a person raised in their forum. And I'll choose those questions to best reflect what are the most important issues that people email me. And that's all. Let's get started with the issue.
Hey everyone.
Hey. Hey.
My name is Dimitri and I'm running to be representative for class of 2018. I will do whatever it takes to make us a better community and make all of our voices heard. First, I'm not going to talk to you about my previous experiences, achievements, and positions held, because I believe college is used up for everything and every one of us. But what I am going to talk to you about is our common goals. Being the majority on campus, we, the freshman class, have an opportunity to build new traditions and make all the needed changes and improvements that we feel will benefit our community the most. Some of them may be minor corrections, like getting hot signs on certain food items in the dining halls, or resolving laundry issues, getting common cleaning supplies to the floors, or about harbor on campus. But some of them may not. One of the major issues I discovered while attended Student Government General Assembly and talked to you guys is that we have limited opportunities in participating in life on campus. Specifically, in regard to student interest groups. I believe that happens because we have limited networks and we are not that familiar with the procedure of establishing it, so that it's really hard for us to do so. That's why I will work closely together with student government and the committees so that every single one of us will be able to pursue their passions and establish new SIGs against leadership positions and already existing ones. In addition to that, I believe one of the issues that pretty much every single one of us faced was transportation to the city. I will make sure that we have more shuttles available to this downtown Abu Dhabi, so that we won't have to be squeezing to one single bus every Thursday. Although somebody can technically be fun, too much is never a good thing, right? I also think that our campus kind of lacks romantic spots. You don't want to know how I yeah. But you do want to know that I will push for installation of the benches on the high lines so that every one of us will be able to just go there, sit with their very special someone, and enjoy the sunrise and sunset.
Yeah.
Finally, I want to represent NYUAD class of 2018, you guys, so that we can stay as happy, as genuinely cheerful as we were doing the month of the week. Thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to having you vote in that coming election.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mary.
Hi everyone, how are you guys doing? I can tell that I have so I'm running for class representative, which you all already know here. What I noticed when I first came here was that the class of 2018, we have a lot of potential. We see it in the new faces, in interest groups. We see it in people, showing up to play badminton. We see it in we're all different. And diversity is something that's been heavily stressed throughout all of our NYUAD experience. But to me, diversity isn't just somebody being from Hong Kong and someone else being from Thai. It is somebody waking up in the morning to read a book, and somebody staying up at night working out, and somebody doing both while learning their new language. And I believe that we have a lot of things we can do, and none of us are shy, and none of us worry about things like, speaking out. But I think there are a lot of resources in this university, and that we need to spread awareness about these resources because a lot of people don't know about the resources. A lot of people don't know about the kind of things available to them. A lot of people don't know that they can ask for help when they need to. And I think we have to advertise those things better to reach out to the class of 2018 because we're freshmen and we're new and we're all transitioning from home, and I'm from here, but a lot of you are from overseas, and I know that would be so hard just leaving your families and coming here and everything, and I just want to do everything I can to work together with everyone to help this transition, which I know a lot of people already overcome. Some people are still transitioning, and I just want to work together with everybody as a team, and I think being a class representative will help me do that. And now I have a lot of ideas, but I'm pretty sure most of you don't want me to stand here and list off the things I'm doing. And I don't want to do that now. I just want to talk about us. We have, like I said, a lot of potential. And thank you.
Before we continue, can I kindly ask the candidate to speak a bit louder so that the computer can capture your voice most accurately? Next up, can I have Max Eckert?
Yes. Exactly. Good evening. Good evening to you. You know me. I like free cookies. I like free ice cream. But when it comes to politics, there's no room for cookies, really. So tonight I'm asking you for about 3 minutes of your time to briefly outline my policies and answer the question why. I mean, why should you entrust me your role for class representative? For those of you who don't know, I'm Max. I'm 19. I'm from Germany. Potential psychology major, but that's going to change on the way. Let me start by addressing the Student Activities Fund. I love taking the initiative, and why wait for the university to organize everything? Initiative should be rewarded, and responsibility should be taken by students. So as far as I can see, the Yas Water World trip exposed some flaws regarding that Student Activities Fund. If you're enthusiastic about something and you find a group of interested students, I want to remove any obstacle. This includes establishing a more efficient structure. I want to install a more transparent and flexible application process, such as a web form and putting up a list to quickly identify contact persons. Because without clear and efficient structures, there's no growth. And trust me, Germans know what efficiency is. And who knows? If you can compellingly argument for daily ice cream as a vital part of your personal and academic growth, there is your funding. Second of all, a 24-hour library. I like to go to bed late and sleep as long as I can. So what? This speech was put together at 3 a.m. What I want to emphasize is that every person has different reading and studying habits. Some of you want to use the library late. Some of you want to get up and the first thing they do is read. So many high-ranking universities in the US and UK have already adapted the system, and I think NYU and can easily stand up to comparison. And third of all, frequent return shuttles. We have a uniquely beautiful campus here in Sadia and probably the most unique view of the skyline, but nevertheless nobody wants to be caught in a gilded cage. People have done a great job in sharing taxis, making a virtue of necessity, but I do not believe that that can be a model for the future, really. I want us to be able to venture into the city without skipping class and without worrying about catching a taxi on the way back to Sadia. That's why I want to put an end to the no return and 11 a.m. bus shuttles. I hardly get up at 8 a.m. Resolve the A2A dispute. Living in a non-visitation floor is a respectable decision. So is not living in a non-visitation building. Is any of you from A2A? I see you. I see you. Now, I know that unfortunately, for majority of you, the choice was made for you. So that's why the A2A block needs some revision, so no one's lifestyle is restricted. Since this campus does have the capacities to accommodate all of us, I vow to find a creative and constructive way to address this matter. Eco-President. As a new member of Ecoherence, I'm impressed with their resourcefulness and sense of responsibility. I will work towards effective waste management, reducing energy consumption, and ideally, creating an urban roof garden. It can be used for recreation purposes or to air dry clothes outside. I mean, why would you stick your clothes for 4 hours into a 40-degree dryer if you have a 40-degree dryer outside? At any rate, it's not about penalizing people's behavior. It's about offering an incentive and educating and strengthening environmental skills. Last but not least, I will promise to set a weekly time to hear everybody's concerns and ideas. Join me for a stroll on the High Line or come by the room for a cup of tea. I want to hear what moves you. Having been involved in local politics and student government before, I know all too well that these will be time-consuming time-consuming and tough processes. But what I promise you is that I will dedicate my time and spirit to find compromises, solutions, debates, and to negotiate. Because as JFK so aptly stated in his inaugural address, let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate. Actions speak louder than words, so whoever it is, please vote for your class representative and help us create a strong and inclusive community.
Thank you, Max. Next up, we have Alan.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I wanted to entertain you guys with a little story because I believe that all the important things can be found on the post I made, and we're going to get to the problem later on. So, the story is about a donkey. One day, a farmer was walking around his land. He was walking past this dried out well, and he heard the sound coming from the well. He looked inside. There was an old donkey who had fallen into the well. Now, he called his 3 neighbors, and 4 of them met, and they started to think, now, what are we going to do? Now, the well was very old. It was made out of stone, so none of the farmers wanted to risk their lives and go inside because the well would collapse. And because it was old, the upper barrier of the well also deteriorated, so they were afraid that other animals and cattle would fall inside. So being harsh men, they decided to bury the well shut and the donkey alongside it. They started to shove ground into the well, and at first the donkey screamed, and it was horrible. But after the first 20 minutes, it was just silence. And the farmers didn't enjoy what they were doing, so none of them dared to look down into the well. After about 2 hours of shoving dirt, suddenly the donkey just jumped out and ran off. Now the 4 farmers were standing, they were just baffled, like, what happened? It turns out every time the dirt hit the donkey, he just shoved it off and took a step up. Shoved it up, took a step up, and another, and another. Eventually he just jumped out of the well. Now, the moral of the story is that we should be able to identify our failures as an opportunity to take a step up. And that we should also not focus on our misfortunes. And that we should remember there are more important things in life. Like today I had a workshop about teaching Emirati children in schools. And the teacher, her name was Muriel de Silva, told us this very simple but very important kind of quote to say, that we're all human, we're all the same, and we want the same thing, be loved and accepted. I wanted to be a class representative so I could work with all of you, so that we could survive and strive in this first year, so far away from home, for most of us. Yeah. Thank you for listening.
You definitely remember that. A stands for aspire. B stands for believe. D, dare to dream. And A, achieve it here at NYUAD. Now you're probably thinking, oh, why is she spelling her name? You know how to spell your name. But I get a lot of, oh, is your name Abdul? Is your name Abdi? I'm like, come on guys, come girl. Now, for this morning when I was trying to write my speech, and I was like outside the library having a little think. I was like, oh, let me think of this fancy speech to like blow everyone away. And then for 1 second I realized, I was like, okay, let me make this manifesto. I'm going to do this, pow, pow, pow. And then I was like, hold up. Have I actually listened to my class? Isn't that what a representative is meant to do? Aren't they meant to listen to what people say? Just because I think something, maybe like, oh, the mornings are too early or something. That doesn't mean you think the mornings are early. And it reminded me of this time when, during
the summer before I started university, I went to Afghanistan, and I go for summer, and people think, oh, that's weird, why'd you go there for your summer holiday? But it's kind of like part of my culture. And when I went there, I asked one of my cousins, I said, oh, take me to a school, I want to see what school is like. And she was like, oh, why are you going to school on your summer holiday? But I was like, okay, I just want to go. So I went, and I want you guys to close your eyes and imagine a place where you're walking into the school, and when you walk in, you get security checked. You're leaving weaponry in your bag, and you're going into this school, and it's all girls, fully black, white headscarves, and that's it. And when you're in the classroom, there's a simple black board, a white chalk, and that's it. And when I reflected on that this morning, I was like, thinking about how privileged I was, and I was like, when I was at the school, I was like, I want to make a difference, tell me what to do, I want to make a difference at this school and whatever. And then when I spoke to this one girl, the only thing she said, listen. That's all we want you to do, to listen. We are all from different parts of the world, and we're like, I could come in here and put all my ideas up, but we all have different perspectives, and it's not about me enforcing what I want, it's about enforcing what you guys want. And I think that's probably one of the main lessons I learned today, and I was like, so I don't want to just come here and tell you guys we're going to do this. I want to take this as a chance to let you guys know that it's about us speaking together as a class, rather than me coming up with all the decisions, and for you guys to actually make suggestions. Like, let's say, for example, give me an idea. Give me something that you want changed. Give me an idea. Yeah, but is your dryer a problem?
I don't know.
See, we have common problems, and sometimes they're not common. But it's about us engaging with each other rather than one person trying to do everything. I want you guys to say thank you and remember to vote.
Thank you, Abda. Next up, we have Amma.
Good evening, everyone. As you all know me, my name is Amir, and like some of the representatives some of the candidates that are running class representatives, I do want to start out with a quick story with an experience I had back in high school. I had this friend. I was in student government as well back in high school, and I had this friend that was going through a bit of problems, and I didn't really know he was going through problems until the day where he came up to me and he said he was about to harm himself. Now, I don't want you to feel that I'm trying to tell you that, look, I want to run for this position because I want to prevent you from harming yourself, or because I want to be your counselor and all that. That's not true. The reason why I'm telling you this is because I believe, regardless of the position you have within the student government as a classmate of 2,000 years, I want to be here and I want to be here for you, just like I was there for this friend. I talked him out of harming himself, but that's another story, and I can talk more about it later, what happened to him. But again, the reason why I'm telling you this is because I want to be there for you. And if you know me, I'm three words that I use to describe myself very often are I'm determined, very sociable, and I'm trustworthy. And I believe there's three factors tying together to the reasons why I want to become your class representative. I want to be there for you, and I want to do this for you, not for me. Now, I also thought about one thing. I know that you guys have heard that I was recently elected to become the Director of Business Administration for A2. And I didn't want to touch base on that because I want to mention to you guys both the benefits and the downsides of having those positions if I were to be elected as class representative. Well, to start off, a lot of people have come up to me and say, why are you running for class representative? Haven't you already been elected for something else? Yes, I have been elected for something else. But at the same time, you guys, haven't you guys had other positions? Someone who's like volleyball, someone who can be class representative. That's true. The benefit of being elected for directly business administration because I can deal with Res Ed and student government, which are completely separate things, but both can interact together. So at the same time that we're organizing events, we're trying to fix laundry issues with Res Ed. We can also be there as part of the student government to fix other issues, such as the amount of money, the amount of funding for SIGs that are happening. We will be discussing that with the treasurer, with the president, and with the other members of the student government. With that being said, I do want to end with a very cheesy slogan, which I do want you guys to remember. I was thinking of a slogan, something that would be catchy. And I came up with something, I was talking to a couple of friends, and the slogan I thought would be catchy, just quite embarrassing, but I'll still say it, is please dare to vote for a guy. So, I do want that to be a class representative. I'd be honored if you guys did vote on me if I was elected. Thank you very much.
Next up, then we have Ujo Fish.
I had thought of preparing a speech. At approximately 7:45, I sent out a dire message for help to two of my closest friends. Like, guys, I have a speech in under half an hour and I need help. Thankfully, they didn't respond. Thankfully, because now this is not going to be rehearsed, because now I'm going to tell you exactly why I feel the way I do about wanting to become class representative, and why you should be thinking that I should be someone who could trust the entire collective support of the student body. I've been here under a month, but class of 2018, I am already awed by almost everything that I have seen in so many of you. I have played pool until 4 a.m. and had deep philosophical discussions at the same time, and then woken up to go to class the next morning. I have talked about the nature of state and religion over pizza, which, by the way, you don't get in Bangladesh. Because, where I come from, it's really expensive, and so, I really like my food. That's something I'm really proud of at NYU AD. I mean, you don't get croissants, you don't get bread and butter, you don't get donuts. It's terrible. It makes me love NYU AD all the more. I have food, I have friends, I have amazing faculty and teachers. I am so privileged. It is my utmost honor to be able to stand here in front of you and to be able to share with you my vision of why I think I'm going to stand for class representative. I kept telling myself the reasons that I want to do this. I kept telling myself that I want to help make this a stronger community. I kept telling myself that I want to listen to you and help out with all your problems. And every single one of those things is true. I do want to stand up for you, and I do want to listen to all of your problems. I do want to build a very strong community. But then I also kept asking myself, do I have to be class representative to do that? Do I need to be class representative in order to be able to build that strong community? The answer, logically, is no. It doesn't take a position on the student government to be able to be someone who can hold this community together. I don't have to be class representative to be your friend. Why then? I asked myself, I really want to be class representative. And the answer is astoundingly clear. It would be an honor to be the representative for a group as powerful, as passionate, as determined, as intelligent, and as driven as every single one of you. It would be my greatest honor to represent you in your loneliness, in your transition away from home. It would be my greatest honor to be able to talk to you and help you out when you're swamped with so much academic homework that the only thing you feel like doing is blowing up the faculty residences. It would be an honor. It would be an honor to be able to represent you in all your insecurities and your securities. It would be an honor to be able to talk you out of your indifference when you forget in the middle of all your work that there are still beautiful things in life left to be lived for. It would be an honor to be able to be your representative. Yes, there are issues that so many people have mentioned. There are going to be issues others are going to mention. You have shuttles, you have laundry. You need a library that's open all the time. We need environmental sustainability, especially given that we're living in a country that has its riches based almost entirely on oil and petroleum. It sort of puts into perspective the issues that we're running out of fossil fuel. We really need to start caring about the environment. You have all of those issues. And I want to be the collective force for all of that, but at the same time, I want to be each and every single one on the deeply personal level. I don't need to be representative to do that. But as representative, I will be in a unique position to help you act on the impulses which you will share with me when choose to become. I will end on a last note, and that last note is the note of community. Every single problem that I have talked about, every single problem that the others will talk about, every single problem that the others have already talked about cannot be solved by one person and one person alone. It requires the cooperation of the administration, of the student body, of the student government, of every single person in this facility to be able to solve any single one of those problems. We need to be able to build a community that the stars can be proud of. This is something I will try my utmost to do. I can't do this on my own. I don't even have a whole lot of ideas on how to do this on my own because community is something we all need to do together. So come to me, talk to me. And when you do, I will do whatever you think is necessary in order to help you make a community that will stand on its feet. One last note, and this is slightly related to my election campaign, which is why I'm here at the very end. But some of you may have noticed, I think all of us at this point have actually noticed at some point or the other, that the staff and the security guards and every single other person who works here to enable us to lead such privileged lives calls us sir or madam the entire time. I found out, to my very great discontent several days ago, that this is not because they are simply showing us respect or that they are doing this out of courtesy, but because they are obligated. Think about that. You have people who are older than you, twice as old as you, thrice as old as you, who are obligated to call you sir and you. They have lived more than you have. They have far more experience than you have. They are obligated to call you sir. I'm not saying this because this is something I want to change. It is beautiful that for once we will be getting the respect that many of us in our home countries would never have gotten from people who are older than us. But I do want to take a moment of all of you. That when someone calls you sir, please make sure you become your gesture. Make them a part of the community. It is definitely my honor to be able to represent all of you, but I also want to be able to, through this position, connect us to the people who have brought us here today. And not because of ambitions, not through bureaucracy, but through the sweat of their bodies and through the blood that they have spent when they were toiling for our campus to build us this place so that we could succeed. Please, never forget that they are part of our community. Thank you.
Our last candidate for the freshman class representative election today is Yara.
Hey guys. So it's going to be very hard to try and live up to all these great speeches my fellow candidates have presented to you guys. I had a completely different style planned out for my speech. Definitely will probably less entertaining. I chose keywords, connection, detail, and, well, this one's kind of related to both, but feeling. I'm the type of person who lays out all her ideas in terms of points and branches so that to keep things organized. So I laid out the most important aspects of being part of this community into academic fulfillment and social fulfillment. So to start off, the keywords I chose and how they're related to each. When it comes to social fulfillment, the word connection can mean a great deal. Being connected with one another especially, or being connected with other students in this community, like sophomores, juniors, seniors, or being connected with the heart of the city, with Abu Dhabi itself. These are some things that I would like to work on. Another thing is when it comes to qualification or academic fulfillment, it is important to take into consideration how, although we have a very vast amount of resources to take advantage of here in this we do have a lack in how we use these resources. How can we take advantage of these things for academic fulfillment? I do know that in previous years, I helped establish a sort of mentoring system that allowed students not only to seek help from faculty or from gaps or from the library, but also from one another in a way that allows it's more organized in terms of how you have classes with one another. And when it comes to detail is very important when looking at the big picture, because it's these details that create the big picture. So for instance, it's not just the number of shuttle buses that we have, it is where these shuttle buses go. Why can't they reach more locations? Or not just the number of activities we have, but how these activities are organized. And also, for instance, when it comes to wow, you guys. Well, when it comes to being with such amazing people, it's hard to maintain the connection when you're trying to balance between your academic work and being with your friends, or catching dinner without having to quickly work on the assignment that you have due in 4 hours, or going out in the weekend with that midterm, in the back of your head saying you need to be studying right now. So when we come together and fix not only the problems that we have as a big picture, I'm struggling with my homework, or I can't fix my dryer, but when we look into the details and stay connected, these are the things that I think would help us advance as a community. So I also kind of came up with a pretty cheesy slogan that I am debating presenting to you guys, but since I do have a bit of time on my hands, it went something like, let go of the drama, vote for Yara. But yeah, something to keep in mind, I guess. So academic fulfillment, social fulfillment, and staying connected. And I am a team player. So none of these things can be achieved when you've got one person sorting everything out on their own, okay? We do have to work together. And that connection that I was talking about, these details that I was mentioning at the beginning, are what help us work together as a team in order to work on the shuttle buses, or work on the library that Max mentioned, or even how the Yas water bill trip that didn't work out. So I did have that whole trip organized from A to Z, and all that was left was the funding. And it was very difficult for me to reach the, I spoke to a lot of different people, and it was difficult for me to find the correct process in order to let that trip go on. So these are the sort of things that I would like to work on. Or I have some friends who wanted to put together a SIG, and we were struggling with the process. Why can't we make the process a little simpler? Especially when it's a simple SIG, like a photography SIG. And it's the details that make things difficult, and it's the details that can make things much easier once we try to sort of fill in the gaps. Because when you look at the big picture, these gaps will hardly be seen. And when you dive in and connect with one another to try and figure out these small details that have flaws, that's when we know what to do. Forget the drama, yeah.
Elections. Now I'll move on to the Q&A section, and I'd like to mention again that if you have any questions to any of them, or any questions to the group as a whole, you can email it to me at qhb200@nyu.edu. Now I'll move on to my first question, which somebody emailed it to me, which is, what new sort of activities do you suggest to the freshman class? Does anybody want to start first? The question is, what new sort of activities do you suggest for the freshman class?
My personal opinion, there aren't that many dance sort of events, because there are a lot of parties and a lot of other different activities going on campus, but unfortunately, I faced it in one of the things too, that we cannot go to a club in the city because we're underage. But here we can kind of have some sort of a vibe which will not involve anything that is dancing. So just a kind of similar events as we had during the Marhaba week. Thank you.
Feel free.
I had a couple of different ideas in terms of activities as well. So aside from, as you guys are like the trips and whatever, like the Asmarable trip from there, how many of you guys have been to cultural-based activities? Like how many of you guys had an Arabian night with actual Arabic dancing and Arabic music? Or how many of you guys had an Asian night with like the real hardcore traditions of what the Asian culture is based on? How many of you guys experienced these cultures like to their root, to their essence? I think these would be really interesting events. Like I would love an Asian night and see how like things go on, like in terms of music, in terms of dancing, in terms of food even. Or an Arabian night. I had so many talks with my friends about Arabian night where we have the dances and the food and just the craziness of it. So that's one side of how the events would go on. So in terms of like cultural based events, because I don't think we have many of these. What I do think we have a lot of is the sports events. But what if we create our own sort of games? I mean, I'm sure we've all had that time in our childhood where we improvise games or improvise fun ways of like hanging out and asking questions in a really silly way. So I think these sort of nights, they help us not only learn about other cultures, but they would help us. I keep using the same word, but connect. Because if you know more about what your Asian friends are like, then you'll find a better way of connecting because it's these differences that actually make us closer to them.
Like I mentioned earlier, please keep your answer as much as possible within 1 minute because the time limitation that we have to say.
When I arrived on campus for the first time, I noticed the stylish palm trees we have. And because I'm a big fan of paintball, I imagined, of course you can't play paintball, but that we could have an annual water on that square, one team versus the other with a paper or something that indicates. That's the one idea that I really want to make reality.
Well, it's great to hear that there are already so many different ideas, not just practical groups. You find an activity that's wrong. I did rafting the other day. That was a great thing. We connected as a group and as a class. And from what I see, that the campus recreation activities are always in great demand, such as the ski trip. It's already overbooked, so I would probably go by what you want and what we've seen that is being done and support the
This is less about like what activities we should do, but I just wanted to let you guys know that we are planning, me and some of my friends, we're planning to do Mr. and Mrs. NYUAD, kind of like a cultural, fashion, everything type of show together. So it's about getting more involved and kind of like bridging the barrier between the couples. And that's it, because I don't like talking a lot.
Activity-wise, I think it should be less about what activities I think we might enjoy or I might enjoy, but what all of us together as a student body might enjoy, or a whole range of different diverse activities that many of us enjoy. I mean, I'm a hopeless romantic. You give me, I don't know, a few really funny love songs, and you make me step until 4 a.m. on the highway and listening to them. I will gladly join that activity. But it's like a 12, probably, easy portion of what you want. So it's like, you mentioned the water fight, some other people, like Asli just mentioned, connecting to a lot of people. All of these are activities that I would definitely like to put into a reality if it has no back. As to what sort of activities I would like to implement, my answer is that don't ask me that question, just ask me and tell me that this is an activity you would do. And I will do my utmost to try and bring that to work out.
So So our next question is that one of the most important role of the class organization is to sit on the student funding board and decide what sort of activities should get funding from the student government. So what skills do you think you have that might give you a really good grasp on that on such responsibility?
Like I hinted at in my speech, this is all about negotiating, debating, and compromising. I think that compromise is horribly underrated. I can only rest if I know that all of the parties involved are satisfied with their results. So I think skills in terms of negotiating, including and considering all people's different opinions and views on it. I think that's one of my strengths, and I seek to mediate between parties and not go with one-sided demands. So
I would say that probably the grounding some of them playing really helping them because the investors don't feel a lot to organize some sports competitions and stuff like that. So that I kind of do realize that I actually want to come to the SIG related activities, stuff like that. Especially that I'm an economics major, but maybe on the side.
I think in terms of negotiating the funding and the activities, it's all about balance and knowing what's worth what. So, like I've previously experienced the whole funding thing when it comes to like event planning and the cost and reducing the cost and creating more activities to be present. So I think it's all I think not only is it like Max said, negotiating, which is very important, or experience, but I think it's also on being able to balance and being able to know what each thing's worth, so that you can know what works with what. And of course, I think the baseline would be like what you guys want the most should have priority. So it's all about basically the percentage of you guys on what you believe is more vital than something else, and being able to balance things out and making things like the more economic, so that we can create more activities and fund more projects and so on. I think that's also very vital in terms of funding.
I once heard a really wise man tell his daughter that good compromise leads everyone in. And like they've already mentioned, getting funding, organizing funding, budgeting, setting it up for 2026, it's a whole lot of compromise and negotiation. It's a whole lot of understanding what the students want, why they want it, justifying it first to themselves, and then justifying it to the rest of the student government and the administration. Transparency between the administration and the student government and the student body can definitely help, which is one thing I would definitely be working towards. But also, I like to think on the patient here. I also like to think I can deal with anger. So after a good compromise has been made and people and the students have the amount of funding they need to be able to do what they do, they're more than welcome to get on me for not giving them as much funding as they want. Student government and the administration is more than welcome to get on me for taking too much money to give it to them. I'm willing to hear that. I'm also willing to go through all the legwork and all the bureaucracy and all the administrative work necessary in order to help make student investment funding, so that all of you can indulge your passions outside of the classroom. I'm willing to do that.
Probably the best thing I can offer is I have a really good, really amazing BS detector. So like it's basic knowledge. Like if you want something like skydiving, it's going to be expensive and it's going to be lots of people. Like not lots of people would want to do it, but you can only take like 5 people. The logic, you pick an activity that a lot of people can do, and then you'll pretty much have a happy majority, and I think that's what it's all about.
You wanted to answer the question?
I prefer hearing other opinions on this. I think that when it comes to budgeting, trying to answer the question, it deals a lot with first of all interactions that we have obviously with other SIGs, but it comes back to the interaction we have with the class and the student government. So I believe that budgeting can potentially be a problem, but it can only be a problem. We, within the student government, as I've worked with it in the past, I've seen that budgeting, when we're trying to divide the right amount of money for everyone, for events, for instance, it could have been a problem. But what I'm trying to get to is that, look, with interaction, with discussion, talking to student government, talking to you, my fellow kids, we could set that amount that could be beneficial, not for everyone, but at least for the majority. And by hearing other concerns, by hearing what you guys believe is best to do, just whatever it is, skydiving for events, for if you want privacy, for instance, and you want to talk to someone who's in the government, you don't have to necessarily go to talk to the president about it. You can talk to your representative. And whoever that representative is, he would be open to concern and to try to establish that funding.
Well, it's pretty hard to actually speculate right now. Kind of don't have full information of what's going on. But the general feel is that maybe these resources are not utilized completely. As of now, as far as I know, you can still establish new SIGs, but the ones that are already existent are very limited. Because, for example, I wanted to join the archery SIG. Unfortunately, I didn't get able to at a 10 people cap. So I kind of felt how it feels when you can't do it.
So my next question is that throughout the year, there's going to be different issues that freshmen care about depending on whether it's exam period or E. So how would you get a sense of what the freshman class as a whole care about throughout the year?
Ladies first.
So in terms of knowing what the freshmen want or what they care about at different times, I think this all comes down to hearing out and listening and staying connected to the different students. So it's going to be hard for one person to be connected to 260 plus other people. But there are routes of making sure that each person's voice is heard at some point throughout a day or throughout an hour. So I think it's all about knowing, and plus, whoever the representative is, that person is a freshman as well. That person is part of the community. So that person will be aware of what's going on within their own community, within their own environment, between their own people. So knowing that you will be part of that community, and knowing that you will find ways to stay connected through either social media or through blogs or through face-to-face interactions, or like sitting at a large table in the dining hall. All these things help us stay connected and know what each person sort of is looking at, or what each person is worrying about at that certain point in time.
My idea was maybe a little bit similar to yours, but basically it's just people talk and people complain, and as long as you just maintain a smiling face and stay friendly, you'll hear it pretty much quite soon, because it's only fun with these people that will express their ideas. So it's just, I would stay as I am, just talk to every way that I talk to.
I live at A2B, University in 7, looking up like after not at unlucky, I don't know. But you know, you're more than welcome to come talk to me any kind of work or issue you have. But even outside of that, this is an idea that I personally fleshed out during my campaign with my family, but one that I would like to flesh out in performance. From what Yara said, it can be difficult to keep up with the needs of 260 different people every single day. It's not possible for me to go up to everyone every day and listen to all their demands every day. However, what I can do is have several people who are going to be talking to me and who are going to go into their respective communities, their respective groups, their respective circles, their respective environments, talk to the people they normally hang around with, bring to me issues that they a chain effect, if you will, on people who I know they know people of their own, who in turn know people of their own, until you probably have communities. A setup like that would be efficient, and it would spread the word about any new issue that could possibly affect the community really quickly and possibly affect
Um, Personally, for me, I think it sounds like a really huge issue, but very simple. You get a post-it note and a pen, you get a freshman class in here, everyone writes it down once a month. Sorted.
I'd just like to say two words. I think it comes down to communication and transparency. Basically, I did draft the class. Hearing the concerns does involve transparency. We want people to hear our concerns. Someone might have a concern that another person might have as well. But the fact that transparency is put in place within a class. Getting to create that sort of community within a class, we need that sort of transparency. So bear in mind that I can't really see very well with other classes, but yeah, so transparency, very important. Either social media, Facebook is one we use quite often. Meeting with the class quite regularly is very important as well. And keeping in touch, either through dialogue, one-to-one conversations, or through email, phone, whatever it is, but just being able to communicate with us and to address the concerns to a high degree of concern.
Which one more aspect, I agree with all of you that beautiful ideas. As long as we still have the first stage out of you functioning, I could also imagine this using this as a platform for people that already are in search of smaller groups for they to voice their concerns and then get into touch with the first facilitator.
Thank you. My next question would be considering that we are now on Sabiat Island, what sort of activities or idea would you propose to get the student body more integrated into Emiratis culture?
Well, personally, I consider myself as a fan of athletics, so I really think that through sports, we can really connect with the local community. And right now, I haven't had the time yet, but I really have started to enjoy touch rugby. And there is a championship or something like that coming up. So this and more events like this, I think, are the way we can connect with people.
Well, I think what I'm going to do is passion. We can have some like for lawyers if you're interested, and we can go to like shops and I can like show you kind of things like that. I know.
So, if you want to get to know the culture of the place that you're in, it shouldn't need an administrative push. You shouldn't need to have a whole group of people pushing on you all the time and telling you, go out to the culture, get to know these people, get to know all of them. It's fairly easy to take a taxi into the city and go and talk to people. Also, once a better shuttle schedule is implemented, it will be fairly easy, even easier in fact, to go into the city. And instead of simply buying from the shop, instead of simply being a material consumer, you can become an active engager. Get to know the shops that you most frequently buy from. Get to know the owners. Talk to them. Talk to them about where they live, how they live, and why they choose to do the things that they do. It's a very simple matter of communicating with the people around you who you see are part of the culture, who are part of the better. If you have 4 years in a particular place, if you have any idea about how to have an activity or an event or do something that you think might help the community as a whole, connect with people, you're more than welcome to bring that idea up. But other than that, if you're simply looking at this on an individual level, every single one of us has more than enough potential to be able to connect with the culture at a very deep level.
Okay. I think those events, they are there and they're happening. For example, there's a Move Speed Run. It's coming Sunday, Havana, usually on the United Arab Emirates. Actually, so I think the events are being held, they're just not advertised most of work on that. Also, like Jojo said, you can't force people to immerse in the culture, but you can create an environment which is easier to connect. The transportation schedule. Also, I think this beautiful campus brings about a sort of sense of sustainability, and I would refer to that topic of coherence as an outreach group that connected local authorities and other environmental groups in Abu Dhabi. So I would say
Before you start, please speak louder so that the live stream can capture your voice.
I was just going to add the fact that we could delegating, I think, is very important as well. The fact that we have such a rich community within our class itself, being able to delegate these tasks within maybe empowering a bit of the underwriting community that we have within our class, so they could potentially choose something for us to do and to engage with. That'd be great. And same goes to other different communities. If you want to engage in, say, Brazilian culture or say American culture, you have those. You could delegate to the top, be able to organize.
My next question would be, our school is essentially a liberal arts school, so what sort of activities or ideas would you propose that would best represent that idea?
could you clarify the question, please?
Yeah, so I'm speaking as the question is being asked to me. Our school is essentially a liberal arts school, so what sort of activities or ideas would you propose to further the liberal arts idea or to support the growth of that idea among the youth?
Yes, please. The liberal arts idea is deeply connected with the idea of interdisciplinary actions, interdisciplinary education. So I think that's just to answer briefly would be a great. So the plan right now is interdisciplinary actions, such as there was a crocheting project that was evaluated by talking about a hyperbolic plane. It was something really interesting, again, something that happened on campus. I was actually informed about through my class, but it was very body. So I think interdisciplinary events or lectures are really things.
Right, I'll skip to the next question then. My next question would be, what do you think is the biggest problem that the freshman class face, and how do you plan on addressing it?
Okay, I think to sum up all the problems would be that things are just really hectic and there are so many things that you can't exactly find your way around them all. So I believe that to sort out all these problems is simply to put out an organized system that leads us through all the different things. Like for instance, an example off the top of my head is student portal. When you open it, you have all the stuff literally by most recent. So you don't have them sorted out in terms of events or IT information or whatever. So I think organizing that, organization in general, in terms of organizing the events on the student portal or the topics or whatever, or whether it's organizing the way information is relayed to you guys in terms of how to use the resources in the library or how to use the resources in class, the different resources you could access in your classroom in order to get to maximize the learning experience, basically. So I think it all comes down to carving out straightforward pathways in terms of how to know things or how to get to things,
So basically, it's just make the procedure of the entire student interest group process as easy and as friendly as possible, accessible and easy to use by every single one of us.
We're new to college life, we're new to this campus, we're new to the schedule. So we're new to pretty much everything that's going on around us. And what I think we need to do in order to sort that out is we need to start doing something. We need to start thinking of Sadia as not necessarily home away from home, but the home we are going to be at for the next 4 years. That's our base of operations. And this ties into what I said earlier about having community, because if you can form new connections to replace the old ones that you must have lost, at least a deep part of it that you must have lost, when you stop meeting them face to face, when you stop having that kind of deep connection that you used to back when you were at home. When you left that and you came here, you need new connections here to replace that. When you do that, when you start feeling settled, when you have an entire network of people that you can depend on and rely on to support you through whatever times you're going to need, every single minor detail is going to be a lot easier. This also ties into the previous question about interdisciplinary, about the liberal arts idea and how this fits with it. Because liberal, being the opposite of conservative, represents everything that narrow-mindedness is not. It represents open-mindedness and tolerance and acceptance and understanding. And towards that end, building a community where we are all together and feel like we're part of a community is possibly the best thing we could possibly do as part of all of these.
So this is probably my last question. With the freshman student body being so large, 40% of the current student body, how do you plan to integrate your freshman class into the larger, more established student body?
So I think this is where the balance comes out when in terms of putting together events. So some events will help merge the different layers of students more than others. So in order to sort of increase or improve the connection between the different classes of students, I think that's where the variety of events and where the details of these events come in terms of capacity, in terms of their frequency. All of these things matter in terms of how we can merge the different layers of students in.
So far, I've noticed that like the community of NYUAD has a real large lack of tradition. And now that we're in this new home, which is going to be, like Giorgio said, our base of operations, I think that the student government should try to stimulate new traditions, new events that are annual, and that people can just remember them and just expect and wait for them for the next year to come. And I think this is how the freshmen and the upperclassmen could find the connection.
So I don't know if all of you have heard of this program, but there's this program called the Brothers and Sisters Mentorship Program. The application, unfortunately, closed, I believe, several days ago. But the point being that while it would be an amazing idea to keep the application for this sort of thing open at all times, so to keep it a rolling application process, so that anyone who at any point was feeling lonely could just go out and talk to an upperclassman or apply to have an upperclassman brother or sister always talk to. It's just that we're all living in the same place together. It's not that hard to spy a few upperclassmen in the dining hall, take your tray over to them and ask them if they would mind joining. In practically every single case, they are going to say yes. Upperclassmen and being freshmen, they're not a separate species, they're not an alien race. Shouldn't be that hard to go up and talk to them. And since we run into them all over campus all the time anyway, it shouldn't be too long before we start forming bonds, if only we keep the percentage of ourselves. And with the freshman body being so large, that means we can play a very key role in stimulating campus-wide events. If we implement some of